Hi, welcome back to another career conversation. Today, I am joined by Donna, who is an intellectual property lawyer and a registered trademarks attorney, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her job. I wondered if you could start by explaining what an intellectual property lawyer actually is, because it sounds very fancy.
And I think it is fancy, but I'm absolutely biased. So I'm in the world of law and I'm a lawyer, but within that, most of us specialize because there's a lot of law and there's a lot of things that you need to know. So my specialty is in intellectual property, and that is providing advice around laws associated with intangible things that you can't touch. Most of the time, that's to do with trademarks, so brands and logos, copyright, such as books and things like that, movies, music, patents for inventions, designs for unique looking things, and confidential information. So it's helping people or businesses to work out what they need to do to protect that different intellectual property and how they can leverage it to build their business or their brand or make money.
That's really cool. And you talked a little bit about helping people, but what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? What do you actually do in
Yeah,
helping?
this is a question I get often by people who aren't yet in law. A lot of talking and a lot of typing. So, a lot of the time, and sometimes what I do in an initial conversation with a client is really just have a discussion about what it is they're doing or their problem is. Sometimes they've got a problem that they're coming to get sorted out and working out what's going on, because it's really a matter of understanding the situation and what we're trying to achieve. And then I can work out how I can use the law and the position the client has given the laws to make a pathway forward. So to help them either to achieve the goal they're looking to achieve or to resolve the issue that they've got if it's a icky sort of matter.
It's so really interesting and talking and typing. So you've got to have skills around the talking and the communicating and the listening, but then also the other side of things. Is that how you find it?
Yeah, and some days are lots and lots of talking and having those discussions and working out the plan and those kind of things. And some days I won't talk to anyone and I'll just be typing all day because I'm either typing an advice to the client to summarize what we've talked about and what we should be doing to make our way forward. Sometimes I'm typing documents to record a deal or a settlement. So if we've got a great arrangement where there's going to be a license and some payment for use of the IP, there's a lot of time and effort put into typing up, recording that in a document. Same as if there is multiple parties involved in commercializing something. So there's a couple of founders who want to start a new business. We'll put together the documents that set out the relationship between those parties. So lots of typing, lots of being able to articulate what we need to cover off in a way that at some point in the future, someone who doesn't understand and hasn't had all of those background discussions can pick up the document and know what we intend and what we agree to do or not do and the timing and all those kinds of things. So the typing is really important, and being able to extract from the discussions what's important and turn it into a document that's binding and nice and clear and everyone understands it.
It almost sounds a little bit like strategy. Like there's that element of it's not just the thinking and then the knowing the law and then putting that together, but you're also trying to project a bit
Oh,
forward.
yeah, absolutely. Strategy is my favorite word because I think,
Okay.
and I think that's why I ended up in this particular sort of area of the law, is because I really like IP and creatives and people who are doing those kinds of things, but I really like working out the strategy on how to get to our end goal, usually in the most efficient way that we can, and trying to connect the dots where here's what party A wants and here's what party B wants. What's the pathway look like to get us to where we need to go? Yeah, I think that's fun for me.
You talked about why you ended up in IP specifically. Could you tell us a bit about your journey to become where you are today?
Yes. So by accident to start with. So I finished high school with a pretty good OP, which is what we had back in the olden days, as my children called it this morning. I got a pretty good OP. I had done my like university selections for education and science, and a couple of people had said you should try something harder. And honestly, all I wanted was something based indoors because I don't like dirt. Preferably where I can wear fabulous shoes because that's my thing and has been for a while. So I switched. I switched to law and I hedged my bets by also doing psychology. And then once you're on the train, you just go. So I just went through the 5 years of study to do the double and then did my honours in law as well. And then started at a firm that was quite sort of general. So they did all areas of law. And at that time, I had to do an article clerkship, which is 2 years worth of work within a firm, and you spend 1 year in commercial. No, I did my first year in litigation. So my first year in litigation and insolvency, and it was awful. I hated it. Everyone was angry. They were spending because they were being sued or because they had to sue to recover someone. Things were getting wound. It was just awful. And by the end of that first year, I was like, oh God, I wonder if I should switch and just go back to the education. I was Googling mid-year intake and things like that, but I missed the boat on that timing. And then eventually just rolled into the second year, which was in commercial law. And I was like, oh, wow, this is completely different in terms of just the attitude, the vibes. It's all very positive because typically someone's got something that someone else wants and you would do a deal by which that happens, whatever the nature may be. That was pre-GFC, so a lot of what I was doing is in property and business transactions. Then came the GFC, the global crisis, which some of you probably don't even know about at this point. And effectively the plug was pulled on all of the property work. No one was doing transactions because it was an awful time for spending and not a lot of people had a lot of things or money to buy and sell. So that really dried up. And as it happened, someone else had left the firm and I'd looked after one trademark matter where there was a trademark having filed and there was an issue with it. So I fixed it just by figuring it out and fixing it. And then another one came in and I took it as well because I fixed the last one. So I guess I'll fix this one. And did a couple of those. And around the same kind of time, so 2010 was when Silicon Valley was becoming a bit of a thing and people knew about it and knew about startups and the money, I guess, that people could make in startups and innovations and creating new things for the world. So I got involved in sort of the startup ecosystem where I'm based. And as part of that, got involved in mentoring and doing little speaker bits about what the IP is and how people are leveraging that in order to create these awesome new businesses and get paid, make money from them. And because of that, I decided I really liked the fact that it's on the commercial side of law and we're doing positive things and the vibe is right, but also because it's with people who are creatives and I like that. That's entertaining. I don't like sitting on one sort of litigation file for a year. That's boring to me. I need to be like chopping and changing and where's the next shiny thing? Can I help with that? And, oh, where's the next one? So I got involved in that and then started to specialize a little bit more and start to actively seek out that work to do trademarks and IP and startup type work. Then I had a baby and went on maternity leave. And during that, I had a baby that like slept, which I know is quite novel. Like she just slept during the day. She would just, yeah, it was very cooperative. So I thought since I was at home and a little bit bored, because there's quite a shift from going for private practice law to hang out with a baby at home, and I got bored. So I enrolled in a postgraduate course. So after my degree to do very specifically a postgraduate degree in intellectual property law. And with that, I could also become a registered trademarks attorney. So I had more specialist knowledge and then a separate registration to show I really do have expertise in this area. And therefore, that's really what I want to specialize in and target and go after and build up. So over the next, that was now a long time ago. So over the next decade odd, I spent more time where I was shifting away from doing the general commercial type stuff to just doing IP type law until at the moment, that's almost all I do, just the IP type law. And it's good fun because it makes, I think it sounds super corny to be like, if you're enjoying what you're doing or having fun, you'll never work a day in your life. It feels a little bit like that because I like what I'm doing. I like the clients. The vibe is great. And I can, at this point now, see, oh yes, this is the type of thing I could do for a long time. It's sustainable because I've found a nice fit.
I love that message for young people in it. Okay, so it took you like 7 years technically to first qualified, and then it's taken you even more years to get to a spot where you feel like you're not really working, it's just what you love. But I don't think there was a way to shortcut that process. So you had to go through that learning and you had to try those things out and do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and massage your way, specialize and learn again when you could. And I love that coming through because that's how most of us find where we end up. But it's hard to see that when you're younger. That's really cool that you shared that.
And sometimes once you finish your degree or once you get admitted as a lawyer, it feels a little bit like a race to get to partner. And there's various levels you can go through in terms of your law graduate, lawyer, associate, senior associate, special counsel. I ended up special counsel before starting my own practice. And it's a race. It feels like you're on a race and you've got to hit next one to get to partner before you're 30 or whatever the case may be. And I think that's a misnomer. That's not necessarily for everyone. And I think it's more valuable to have that process evolve almost. I also think the time that I spent in insolvency and in general commercial and in property is not lost knowledge. All of that is really helpful for managing files and managing people and expectations and understanding how deals happen, because there's a lot of consistency in that in the area I've ended up in. So I definitely have no regrets, and I don't feel like I've won or lost a race. I feel like I've just landed where I need to be at the right time, really.
Which is so good. You work for yourself at the minute as well as doing some other bits and pieces. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because a lot of young people do want to work for themselves one day. So just talk us through that process and how it feels for you now.
Look, amazing. I think it's in part because of COVID lockdowns. And so I had spent quite a bit of time at one firm, my whole practice essentially at one firm. And when COVID lockdowns first started and we got sent home, I thought actually being at home I feel better. I just feel more in control of everything. It's the little things, the amount of commuting time I don't lose. And then particularly if it's a parent, there's a lot of things going on that kids need. And just being able to manage putting on some washing, or someone's getting an award at parade, I can duck out and go and do that. So there's a lot of time saving and more flexibility in being able to balance those different things and that sort of mum hat versus lawyer hat. I think I've also done it in a fairly efficient way. And again, because of COVID, I think it's far more acceptable to just have your lawyer on Zoom and not necessarily have to go into it. That's time saving for me, but also time saving for the clients as well. It also means that I can have clients anywhere. So because I practice primarily in IP and contract, those are essentially national type laws. So it doesn't really matter where the client is, the rules are the same. So I've got a little collection of clients in Adelaide because I did an interview on a podiatry podcast and they popped up there. They're scattered throughout the coast and around the country. And then as part of my registration as a trademarks attorney, I can do filings overseas as well. So I've got good contacts overseas, but really having a niche means that I'm no threat to the sort of local lawyers in town. I'm not going to take their client to look after their trademark and then steal all the other work, because I don't ever want to look at another lease ever again in my entire life. Thank you very much. I did that. They're really boring. No thanks. So it's a good way to coexist, to be more flexible and therefore to be a little more affordable and efficient, and really use sort of the 2025 way of doing things, which is cloud-based, Zoom and Teams and digital and all those kinds of things.
Yeah. You talk about collaboration, and I love that idea that everyone can win when we work together. And I wondered if you talk a little bit about the other people that you work with. I know you talk about your founders, but also the other lawyers that you work with, maybe other professionals that you have to deal with as part of your role. What does that look like?
Yes. And in the IP and startup space, we often refer to it taking a village. So to get something, a new idea, a new business really off the ground and into success, it takes a group of people, and that group works well when they're working together and they all bring their own specialty. And I think being able to sort of niche and specialize means that you really get essential professional information about, from me, IP, and then you can access someone else who's really specialized in property, or someone else who's really specialized in the fundraising type elements. So I usually deal with founders. Sometimes I'll deal with investors as well. And there's other advisors, such as your accountants, but also R&D tax accountants. So they're special niches as well. So there's a particular organization of accountants that have really specialized in doing research and development tax incentive claims. Very niche thing to get right.
Wow.
And having a really good R&D tax accountant is really valuable in the early days, because it's a way for founders to recover some of the money that they've spent on their tinkering, their research and development. There's also other advisors which help with getting ISO certifications. So there are some certifications that a business needs in order to be able to work with councils or larger organizations in order to ensure that those sort of downstream clients are compliant with their larger end of town requirements. So a lot of advisors in that kind of space. I also do a bit of work with the federal government. So I'm engaged as an advisor through an industry growth program to talk about how you commercialize IP and working out the strategy for that and working out where else I can connect them in terms of government bodies and people that can assist. A lot of contacts in the government sort of space that provide, again, their own sort of little channel of options, and how to protect the IP, how to talk to customers, how to validate their value proposition, how to articulate that. So yeah, it takes a village, but once you've got the go-tos for the different bits and pieces, it helps the client, but it also helps the client with confidence because they know they're going to be dealing with someone else who's also got the right skills and usually the same kind of vibe. I like to work with, have my village, yeah, the same kind of vibe.
Yep, that makes sense. I know you do quite a bit of presenting as well as part of your role, both with your private practice, but also with your other community roles. Would you talk really quickly about public speaking and what that means to you?
Yeah, so I'm a drama queen from way back. And I think, I know I was never going to be an actress or something like that, but I do love the stage. And so that kind of started early in practice, in part because the firm I was at would encourage the younger lawyers to do presentations just for the other lawyers. So there were a couple of times there where there would be an update on retirement villages. And so I would do the little update on retirement villages. And I think the main difference there is, so my history of being on the stage is in dance. So dance is, you have music, you have your choreography, but if you make a boo, no one notices. You just, as long as you're moving, it looks right. And going from that to talking about things that must be accurate is very scary because there's no distraction. It's just the word, although I do clearly wave my arms about because I can't help myself. But there's no distraction. It's just the words, and the words have to be accurate. So building that up and building up the confidence to make sure that whatever comes out is accurate just takes practice, and doing so without needing notes or whatever, because having notes or writing it out means that you're accurate, but means that you're not particularly interesting to look at while you're talking. And law can be a sort of dull subject. So I like to make sure I can weave through the information that I need to by hitting the right points, wrapping stories around it to make it more interesting, and just have enough cues on my slides to remind me of the point I need to make at this particular slide. And that's just come about because I practice, and then started growing the audience size as that time went on. So from internal to slightly external, slightly bigger crowds, and then now I'll basically talk to anyone about it. That's just practice.
I've seen you do that. Really good tips. Just to finish things off, if you could say one thing that you wish you'd known at 15, what would that be?
I think to think about career opportunities, because I don't think I ever did that. I don't recall ever having a discussion about possibilities, except for one. The only one thing was that my mum said, teaching is good if you want to have children, because teachers get 10 weeks off a year. And I was like, that still does make total sense. And which is why I was initially enrolled in doing education. But that wouldn't be a fit for my personality at all. I have no patience for that many children. No, it just would not be me. So certainly being aware of and understanding and thinking about what all of the different options are, and how you don't have to, the thing is, you don't have to stay the course. And I think it's because I ain't no quitter, that I started into law and then I finished, and then I did it just steamrolled and I just stayed the course, where veering off that was terrifying. So perhaps understanding that it's useful to get an understanding of what the options are and how things might be a fit for your personality. And then understanding that even if you don't make the right decision at the first year out of school, you don't have to stay the course. Adjust, tinker. It's not a race.
I love that.